Deep sleepers, what have you slept through? A tornado. I woke up and my neighbor's roof was gone. Wow Tom, like the new look. Just had it done? A fire alarm. My parents thought I had died when they got out of the house and I wasn't there. My grandmother was staying at my house and one night, she got up to get some water, and fell and broke her hip. I slept through the ambulance arriving to pick her up. Was she okay? Nah, they had to amputate her arms. A house blowing up and then the bulldozer is taking the rest down. This happened in the 80s in Philly, so it was row homes. A guy took himself hostage? He was threatening to blow himself up. He had the gas on and was holding a lighter. I guess they didn't think he would go through with it because a kid in the house next door was buried in the rubble. He was found alive a day or two later. They deemed him the miracle baby. I think the all-time champion was a guy in a motel near Columbus, Ohio back in the 70s. After a tornado went through the western suburbs, the police were going through the wreckage of the motel, and in what was left of a corner room that had two walls and the roof blown away, they found a guy in the bed. At first they thought he was dead, then they heard him snoring. It's very possible he got knocked the duck out. It's drugs. Prescribed or illegal or both, but it's definitely drugs. Earthquakes. My mom told me this story about her first years with my dad. He is a deep sleeper and she is not. She woke up in the middle of the night, to the loudest rumble she ever heard. According to her own description, it sounded as if a giant rock was rolling towards the house, and the whole street was about to get crushed. So, panicked, she woke up my dad, and was like, "Are you hearing this? What is that?" My dad didn't even sit up, just mumbled, "T's just an earthquake," rolled over and continued sleeping. She is still in awe to this day. I slept through a test, that was at 8 p.m. Yeah, I slept through a test once. As I was taking it. Lost about half of the test taking time and still got a pretty decent score. My high school physics teacher told us a story about one of her friends in university. They had a multiple choice exam, and he decided not to study for it at all. Instead, he brought dice to the exam and would roll them to determine which answer to pick. She said she was pissed because he wound up getting a better grade than her. Lol. A nurse was stunned to find me sleeping while I was in labor. She woke me up to tell me so. Apparently me falling asleep triggered some alarm on one of the machines they had me hooked up to. My heart rate and pulse ox changed or something. I was a bit miffed, because it was like 4 a.m., and I was very tired. I would have been seriously pissed if someone had woken me up when I was in labor. I labored at a teaching hospital for number 1 of 3. Never again. I'm usually overly Midwest polite, but I cannot count how many MDs and their students woke me up and were promptly told to duck off. My friend slept through his wife beginning labor. She was screaming and shaking him, and then screaming in pain. He wouldn't wake up. She called the non-emergency line to ask for help, and they finally woke him up so he could take her to the hospital. This is one of my biggest fears. My husband is such a deep sleeper. Just don't go into labor. Problem solved. Multiple mortar attacks while deployed. Woke up one morning to get ready to go get chow and was confused why everyone was eating MRES. Our dining area had been obliterated, maybe 200 yards away from my billet. Slept through my first rocket attack the other night. Lol, imagine my confusion when I wake up to someone banging on my door, in full kit, telling me it isn't a drill. I don't know, I was sleeping. Are we sleeping right now? If not, I'll sleep with you. I've slept through a hurricane and a break-in. The guys didn't come in my room so all my stuff was fine, but my dad, who leaves his phone charging on the counter, got all his shit stolen. You slept through a hurricane? Dude. A hurricane is like a 24-hour storm. How do you sleep that long? A car hit our house when I was 14. It happened at about 2:30 a.m., and the cops estimated the driver, quite drunk, was doing more than 80 miles per hour through our subdivision at the time. There was the impact, the damage to the house, shattering windows, screaming, shouts from the neighbors, staircase charges of my siblings, sirens, everything. I would have slept through until morning if my sister hadn't woken me telling me I didn't want to miss this. A drunk driver rammed into my friend's house and took down his wall. He was in bed and woke up with the car on top of him. He only suffered a broken arm and now it has a rod inside of it. An earthquake, a city parade, a large police chase with lots of sirens, fireworks, etc., but a single bird chirp wakes me right up. One time I was on vacation with some extended family. They were nice enough to let me have a hotel room to myself. I woke up the next morning, and there standing in front of me is the hotel manager. So, naturally, I was like, what the hell? Turns out I slept through my alarm. Slept through the relatives calling my room. Slept through them banging on the door. Slept through the maintenance guy prying/breaking my door open, because I had deadbolted it, so they couldn't just enter with a regular key. I don't deadbolt hotel room doors anymore. I've also slept through a fire alarm, a baby screaming, and barking dogs. All happening at once, one room away from me. I really hope my house doesn't catch on fire one day. I think I'd be a goner. Edit. This comment received more attention than I anticipated, lol. So I'll try to expand. I do suspect a medical condition and having to sleep through noise in the past contributes. Yes, I will look into vibrating alarms. I am highly intrigued. No, the manager wasn't mad, more concerned I think. Fortunately they were able to open the door with little/no damage. Incoming mortar fire. When incoming happens and I'm in bed, I just roll over and go back to sleep. I'm like, am I dead yet? No? Okay, back to sleep then. Yeah. The one time I did literally jump off my cot, my PL yelled incoming and I jumped/rolled off my cot and landed chest first into the front sight post of my M4. God, that hurt. My wife is a deep sleeper. Last year she slept through a tornado and tornado sirens. It touched down just a mile or two away from us. I slept through tornado sirens when I was like 8. My parents were so preoccupied getting the animals down to the basement. We had 2 big dogs, one of which was terrified by storms, and a bird. They didn't even notice I wasn't with them, as my older sister had woken up on her own and went to the basement by herself. The tornado was like 10 miles away, so we were fine, and my mom did wake me up as soon as they noticed I wasn't with them, but I didn't let them live that down for a while, lol. My wife gently slapping me to wake me up. I did not sleep through my wife violently shaking me, though. This made me laugh too hard. I have a roommate who doesn't wake up to his damn 5 a.m. alarm, so I constantly have to go and wake him so I can continue sleeping, and in some cases I have to vigorously shake him, but even sometimes that doesn't work. Ice cubes. Just throw a tray of ice cubes. I slept through my cat giving birth. Did you spay her after? Yeah. When I was a kid my mom accidentally set off the fire alarms and couldn't get them to shit off for like 10 minutes and was running around, getting pissed off, yelling up a storm, and I slept through all of it. Shit off. Sounds like the name of a crappy game show/competition. Every time my mother or sister or someone comes into my room they talk to me and I respond, but I don't know anything until they tell me later. I used to do this when I lived with my mom and she would tell me stuff she wanted me to do, then get mad at me when I had no memory of the conversation. This happens to me. I live with my family. They get very angry and think I'm full of shit. What's worse, I apparently say things like, I'm actually awake now, I'll remember this. When I'm not, and I won't. Went to another university to participate in a competition. The organizers accommodated us in the university hostel only. After settling down, the people I was sharing my room went out while I decided to sleep. When I woke up, one of them was back. He told me there was short circuit in the air conditioner and the room was filling with smoke when he arrived. The fire alarm was also ringing. He tried waking me up too. Car crashed into the light pole at like 3 a.m. outside my house, which then fell onto my dad's car, which set off the car alarm, and the crash must have broke the horn cause it kept going. Then the cop and firefighters came, all with the sirens blasting. And I found out all about this when I woke up at like 8 and my mom told me. 7-year-old me was so mad that I didn't get to see the car crash, ha ha ha. I believe the horn staying on is a safety feature for when people go off the road and crash into vegetation or whatever. It's so they can be found. From what I was told, when my mom was younger, she was sleeping on the sofa in the living room, which was located next to the kitchen. My grandma decided to try and cook a live chicken. She has never done it before. She was reading instructions on how to do it as she was preparing it. The only problem is that chickens can still survive for a short time after you cut their head off. After she chopped the head off, the headless chicken went crazy. My grandma was yelling, the chicken was getting blood everywhere, and my mom slept through the whole thing. When I die I wanna see that if replays are a thing beyond. As an adult, a mouse fart 3/4 of a mile away could wake me up, but apparently when I was a child I slept through an entire monster truck show at an indoor stadium. A trombone lesson. I was a teenager at a sleepover the night before. I was 15, my friend's parents weren't home, so of course we had a small, classy gathering. Which is another way of saying we were up all night. When I got home, I crashed hard. I woke up around dinner time in a panic. "Oh duck," I said to my mom, "I slept through my trombone lesson." I felt horrible. "No, dry bicycle, I woke you up for your trombone lesson," my mom tells me. "You definitely were awake for it." To this day, I have no memory of taking this trombone lesson. My teacher also insists I took it, but was a bit grouchy and not very talkative. The 94 Northridge earthquake, less than 15 miles from the epicenter. I was shaken, but not stirred. This one time I slept through my parents fighting, which had involved knives. It was weird waking up to have to miss school that morning. The heck happened? Thanks for listening to another episode of Reddit X. Subscribe and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any stories. Feel free to share your own stories below in the comments. Have a good day.